Welcome to The Learning Landscape. My name is Simon Matthews. This podcast is supported by Independent Schools Tasmania. Today I'm pleased to be speaking with Luke Ingram from One School Global.
Luke, introduce yourself and perhaps tell us about your role at the school and tell us a little bit about your school. That'd be great.
Absolutely. My name's Luke. I'm an English and Humanities teacher at One School Global, Launceston. So One School Global is a school for the Plymouth Brethren Christian Community. They have schools all around the world, largely why it's called One School Global. We work as a campus. There's 2 campuses in Tasmania, but there's more than 30 in Australia. And we all kind of work as kind of one network, if you will. So I'm the English teacher and Humanities teacher here. I'm also the kind of literacy lead for the high school as well. So I've been doing a course with IST last year, and I've been able to sort of use the knowledge I've got there to help the school out now. It's all obviously it's still quite new. We've rolled it out this year, but it's going relatively well at the moment. So hopefully relatively well becomes very well by the end of the year. But yeah, that's school. The students are wonderful. They're just like students in all schools. I've worked in public sector, I've worked in private sector, I've worked in support schools as well, and just very much normal kids love to learn, love to be naughty when they can sometimes as well. And but it's a great school to work at.
Great to hear. Love to pick up a bit more about this idea of the professional learning you did through IST, but perhaps we'll break it into 2 bits. Tell us about the learning that you did, and then let's flip it. Tell us about what literacy looked like at One School Global, and then tell us about the PL, and then we'll explore, okay, so what changes this made at the school for you? So start by telling what literacy learning looked like sort of pre-PL, but also perhaps pre-lifting literacy mandate.
At One School Global, just like the other schools I worked at as well. Nothing too different. Certainly a heavy basis on reading skills, writing skills, coming from the outputs of the work being through summative assessments. Very much along those lines. Like many schools I worked at in the UK and in Australia, very much almost teaching for the test, heading that way. That's how it was like. Being regional of Australia, you had to make sure that the standards were there for the Australian curriculum, but also NESA as well was in there, so a bit complicated at times. So that's what it was like. Like I said, everywhere I've taught English or history before, it was pretty similar. It would get into the nitty gritty of the lesson pretty quickly because that was the main thing that students would be assessed in, a summative assessment, whether that be reading skills, writing skills, or source analysis skills in history. As well. So that was kind of how it was before. Now it's not like that as much anymore after the PL that I did.
So just tell us about the PL. What were you involved in, and sort of what were the take homes, what were the ahas for you out of that PL?
So the lifting literacy course I went to last year, so it was 4 different courses, 1 per term, with Susie Keel and a guest speaker on a number of occasions as well. It was all about the structured literacy, the mandate from the Tasmanian government. Now, I'd done the Quality Teach course, which was really good. A lot of things, having been a teacher in the United Kingdom, New South Wales, and now Tasmania, some things got muddled up a little bit in my experience and career, but it was really, really good to sort of like look and understand things like the simple view of reading, for example, and Scarborough's reading right, and things like this for quality teach. But that was all theory. Whereas the PL last year, it was how to do it. Not
Right.
what to
Okay.
learn, but actually how to do it. And I think that's gold. That's really where
Right.
you often lack
Yeah.
a lot of the how to actually do it in your teacher training, throughout the years as a trainer and as a teacher. So the PL gave me the ideas, gave me the reasons why, very much
Right.
so as well.
Yep.
It wasn't
Yep.
just looking at the scientific approach to things, it was actually looking at actual practice in the classroom,
Right.
which is
Right.
what
Okay.
I loved. Especially, you'll have to forgive me, Jessica
Yeah.
Con.
Kaludaratus.
Yeah.
Yep.
The sessions that she did with Susie for and the PL,
Right.
absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic, because it wasn't just a sort of reasoning why, it wasn't just pedagogy. It was right. Let's have a look
Yeah.
at how to actually do this in the classroom, and that was what really resonated with me. And I was able to
Right.
take those
Right.
approaches. I was also involved in a Dibbles guide how to as well last year.
Okay. Yep.
I'd also a literacy leaders course. We went to the Devonport Christian School, which is a really
Yep.
really good school, and it was a how to do it. It wasn't a why we do it, which is very very
Yeah.
important. Quality
Yeah.
was taught me why we do it, and it was
Yeah.
the ISTPL with Susie Keel how to do it.
Great. 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 Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So give us some insights. Tell us some stories about what's now changed. What are you doing differently? I was doing this, now I'm doing it this way. So give us some understanding of what's changed for you, and then we'll move on and say, how is this starting to get traction across your school? But let's talk
Yeah.
with your own practice first.
So basically, with my teaching practice, one of the big changes is one of the roles that I kind of had, believing as a teacher, as students, was got to teach the curriculum, got to get to the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Students are
Right.
going to be assessed in all this. That was one of the things that I always kind of felt previously. I had to make sure they do this. What's the
Yeah.
key skill? What are the learning intentions of this lesson? What are the key skills, intentions, success criteria? I've got to make sure they do that.
Yeah.
And I've got to do that every lesson, because that's where the assessments go.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I've slowed down a lot of my sort of like the teaching method, because I start with a review of
Yeah.
vocabulary or a explicitly teaching new vocabulary. One of the best things I not necessarily learned, because I already knew it'd be good practice, but kind of they resonated as I've got to make sure this sticks, is
Yeah.
the sequence of vocabulary.
Okay. Okay.
So the way we're doing it, One School Global now, in English and history at least, is 10 words a term per subject. And to make sure students definitely have time with these words,
Yeah.
with this vocabulary. So we need to, I need to, as a teacher, just make sure they get these words first. And it's not just separate from the lesson, but make sure it actually comes part of the lesson routine. My students now, after doing this for about a year and a half, they often know kind of where to begin. So it's either on Cami or their OneNotes where they do the vocabulary, and not every lesson is exactly the same. But typically speaking, that's where I like to start, especially if it's very important that they learn this word now. It might be a word they already know, but do they know it in its context?
Yeah.
That's where.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where it is.
Good.
I've got a quick story with this. On this,
please.
I do remember once, 2 years ago, there was a reading passage, and the word arboreal was in there. The word arboreal. I didn't know the meaning of that word. So I actually spent like 15 minutes teaching the students arboreal, doing a bit of the morphology, a bit of this. It's a tree-dwelling animal like a monkey or a possum. And then we got into it because in the reading, that was there. Now, the question was something along the lines of, what's the gist of this? That's one of the most wonderful things that I learned in this course, what's the gist? But it was along those lines. So students understood now what arboreal meant, but they weren't able to answer the question properly because the word they needed to know exactly what to learn was the word gist, not arboreal. So that's a big way that I've changed. It's choosing the right word. Just arboreal might come up in a reading text. All you have to do is a tree-dwelling animal, and then move on, because that's not what they have to learn to become better readers. The word gist was the word they had to learn. Does that make sense?
Love it. A good story. Yeah. That's good. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So clearly your practice is changing. What are you seeing in your students because of your change? What's there? What are you noticing?
One way that I feel it's changing. Well, first of all, I'm seeing progress amongst the students that were not necessarily achieving great scores.
Interesting.
I feel like I'm probably not quite there yet in sort of raising the ceiling, but I feel like I've done a good job of sort of like lifting the floor a little bit. So I think one thing I've always believed is that students like to learn. They like to know they've learned. So, and sometimes in my subjects, it's not very clear. They might be building on a skill and they might be opening their schema a bit more, widening it. But they're not necessarily, no, I learned this today. Whereas sometimes when you're doing vocabulary, for example, or sentence structuring, they can say, I learned this today. And I feel that works really well with students who might not be used to getting high grades or high scores in assessments. So I've definitely seen that. I've seen behaviour positive changes as well because the routines. And there are some students, they thrive on things like reading, not writing. So give them the vocabulary, give them the ability to read. And there are one or two students that I've had that, when we really kind of go into vocabulary instruction, for example, they enjoy it. A lot more than if we're just reviewing or analysing, which is important as well. But I have seen behaviour improving as well. I think it's the routines, knowing, and it's the routines, but it's also it's the learning, it's the learning something new, which is really quite useful as well.
That's good. That's really good. Okay. Talk about, again, in your own practice, what do you think is the next growth for you? What do you want to be doing better next as part of this as you said, ongoing learning yourself as a professional? What's your next step? Where do you want to take this?
In my own classroom, I want to be better with morphology. That's where I want to go, because when I actually bring it into a lesson, because remember, this is an Australia-wide unit of work, so a lot of the things that we do through the Tasmanian structured literacy and MTSS is added into the unit. Which I have to. However, so I've already spoken with the head of English and head of humanities, and now, for example, explicit teaching is now part of it, part of the courses. Not all the subjects yet. This is why it's going well, but it needs to go great. So I need to be at the forefront of that, having done this. Having done the course. But back to morphology first. I figured out when I actually did a real good session with this. I've done morphology in bits and pieces before. I did a real full, explicit, intentional task with morphology. Some students who are maybe better at the more logic
Yes.
rather than literacy, maths and science, for instance,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can actually see, so it's picking up. It's almost like science. When in
Yes.
science, you
Yes.
get these little models, and you're attaching different elements and chemicals,
Yeah.
various of new
Yeah.
morphology can be like that. And I enjoy teaching it. The students enjoy learning it, but it's not yet in the curriculum,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I want to add it into the. I
Okay.
want to find
Yeah.
a way
Good.
to make that
Yeah.
stick. As
Yeah.
well. But I think it's now time to go to a whole school approach. I think things are going really well in the literacy based
Right.
lessons. So
Yeah.
I mean, everything's literacy based. That's one of
Yeah.
I've learned.
Yeah.
But classically literacy based
Yeah.
subjects: English,
Sure.
humanities,
Sure. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
business. But
Yeah.
when I was younger, I did well at English. I did well at history. I struggled in science. I did,
Right.
and looking
Okay.
back, I wonder it's because I didn't speak the science accents,
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So the word source, for me, a source meant a historical document. It didn't mean where something comes from, where like a power source,
Yeah.
for example.
Right.
Couldn't
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
out why there was a small p and a capital H to talk about the pH scale.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
where I wanted to go next, making sure that as a whole school approach, we really cement that. So
Great. Okay.
literacy,
Yeah. Good.
literacy is every
Uh,
teacher's
yes.
job.
Yeah. Okay. So that's quite a big cultural shift that you're taking then to take on that concept that yep, we're all literacy teachers. Let's explore that together.
Yeah.
Just going back to students again, what are you starting to see in any data that you're collecting on students? What positive changes might you be seeing in a particular set of data?
The students at One School Global take part in map testing
Okay.
twice
Yeah.
a year, and earlier this year we had great success. And again, we saw it with the sort of raising the floor rather than raising the ceiling.
Yes.
There's a student. The
Right.
best success story is definitely a young Year 7 student diagnosed with dyslexia. Came
Right.
into the high school with trouble with literacy. She just scored 80% in an English test.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that went really well. And she passed science,
Yeah.
she passed maths, and she passed humanities as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who I had a teacher for, but I know the teachers did really well there as well. So we are seeing a lot of success there, and especially
Yeah.
because a lot of the smaller questions are I say smaller questions, the lower marks questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are based on the vocabulary and
Yes.
sentence structuring as well, and
Yeah.
it's making sure that these things are explicitly taught, not just assumed that they know,
Yeah.
which are
That's
huge
good. That's
for a
good.
lot of students, because a lot of students, especially if their educational experience from the beginning has been sort of at the bottom end of
Yeah.
assessments, they're not going to be getting without a lot of yet they're not going to be getting the really
Yeah.
high scores for the paragraphs and
Yes.
analysis. So to get the wins from getting a sentence structuring right, this is the writing revolution here. Get the sentences right, getting the vocabulary right, understanding the vocabulary.
Right.
They are wins. They
Yeah.
are absolute wins for a lot of these students who can then build on that. But that's going to be a process. So we're not worrying too much about because A students are getting A's, but
Yeah.
students that struggle to get a C are getting C's and B's. That's
Right.
that's
Okay.
where we know
Okay.
it's working. That's where
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Let me just quickly flick through my questions. Can we just go back to your own story again? obviously you did your own professional learning. You took some things out. You said, I'm gonna focus on this. What did you find for yourself? What were your self reflections about how you made that new practice stick? What did that end up looking like for you?
Um, like I said, I mean, one of the key areas was I was able to slow down my approach
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
students' learning. Not this, not worry with my own teaching, but the students' learning.
right, right.
I I did always sort of feel like it was, really, really, really important just to make sure the curriculum is kept up with. And it is, but just making sure that vocabulary and structure wasn't just like an extra sort of reactionary sort of,
Yes,
I better do this quickly because otherwise they won't understand this. It became a
yeah,
significant part. It's like,
yep,
this, we're doing this,
yep,
and then with that we can now complete this reading or writing
yeah,
activity as well.
yeah,
So that was
yeah.
one thing.
Okay,
So yeah, it's all about the routines.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, that's really helpful, really helpful. Um, is there anything else you want to yarn about at this point, um, Luke? Because that's pretty well covered the main questions that I was
Okay.
thinking about, that sequence of your learning into your practice, into changing students, into the work in the school. But if there's other things, other stories you got, or other questions you prepared that you want to share, really happy to hear those, mate.
I mean, I've got a whole page on my book here about any questions about the impact on me, which I'm not actually really covered about. But I thought
Yeah,
it has made me more confident.
right.
It has.
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
as a teacher, knowing that structured literacy with explicit vocabulary taught
Yeah,
uh, has has almost made a lot more sense out of everything that I'm
yeah,
teaching, and
yeah,
there have been lessons that I've been asked to teach as a teacher in my teaching career where I thought,
mm,
why am I teaching this? This isn't
okay,
heading in the same direction as the other lessons. Things like this, for example. But
yeah,
but actually now really having a plan with vocabulary,
right,
I now
right.
understand where it's because students need to grow their vocabulary to help their
Yes,
reading and writing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
okay, this
yeah,
this content might be a little bit,
mm,
you know, away from where we've been
yeah,
heading, but I know it's a good
mm,
opportunity for students to learn, to use,
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
grow
mm,
as well.
mm, yeah,
So now, yeah, much more
yeah,
confident. I feel because lessons start off much more sort of like intentional as
yeah,
well, having those little brief conversations after learning lessons as well gets the students more
yeah,
involved, and then we can move
yep,
on to making sure we then cover off the learning intentions
yep,
and
yep,
the success criteria as well. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, more deliberate, more intentional, more confident as a teacher, because of
yeah,
it. A lot of the things that we learned in the PL were things that it wasn't completely mind-blowingly
no,
new.
no,
It was
no,
more sort of, so that's how to do it. Of course, I know that
yeah,
makes sense. I've known that makes sense, but
yeah,
what a great way
yeah,
to do it. What a great way,
yeah, good,
that's,
okay, yeah, yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, it certainly sounds like it was a very practical opportunity for you
yeah,
as a leader to grow in that. Yeah, mate, that's great. And what I'm loving is with your story is you're saying this is still effective for me as a teacher and the students that I lead, even in a national structured school.
yeah,
So even though we've got other parameters, other initiatives that we need to be focused on because we are a national school,
yeah.
I can still see the change in my classroom.
I can, yes.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, very
I
much
love
so.
that.
I mean, there are barriers, there are enablers as well.
Sure. Yeah.
With this being, having small classes, really helps as well, because
Yeah.
you can really make sure every student is really kind of understanding, grasping it. The students that aren't necessarily grasping it, well, how can I support them? Is there a tier 2 instruction for the students where they can go and learn this vocabulary outside of the 50-minute block as well? Barriers, sure, but enablers as well.
Good. Love it.
Thanks for listening to The Learning Landscape.